Hello, welcome to King Axel's Movie Lounge. I am King Axel. Today we are gonna do something a little bit differently. Um, I'm gonna try to do a lot of movie reactions. I got some things in the works, some editing going on, but for now, I figured we'd kind of switch things up. I want to do a tier list, and I was thinking, what would be a good thing to do a tier list on, right? Something that I like to talk about, something that other people might, relate to. And so I came up with the idea of doing the movies that I have seen since I watched my very first movie all the way up to now. Well, I've seen a lot of movies, so I couldn't do them all in one video. So I did from up to like 2011 to 2020? Maybe 2021? 2020, I believe. Yeah. All the movies that I've seen in theater from that time period, because I didn't really see very many, honestly. I wasn't a big movie guy. I think I'd seen probably 30 total films. So, I figured instead of trying to do, year by year, I'll just combine those. And then after that, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024, all of those I will do one video per year. 2023, I only had 10 movies. This year, I've got a lot. So, without further ado, I just say let's get it going. So, this is my tier list. I'm not sure why they put a slash next to the right here next to the apostrophe, but it is what it is. Can't do anything about it. So, these are not in any particular order. They're not in alphabetical. They're not in the order that I watched them. They're not good to worst or worst to best. Nothing like that. It's just, however, the computer randomized them. So we're going to begin with Jurassic World. Now, I saw this. I don't know where to put it quite yet. Oh, I should probably run through my categories. I'm sorry. My categories are I'll never forget it. Meaning it was just so great for one reason or another. It was one of the best. I'll never forget it for a good reason. Loved it. Liked it. It was okay. Didn't like it. Don't remember it. I fell asleep and absolutely hated it. I'm working on more clever category names for future tier lists, but for now I just want to keep it basic and put this out there. Yeah, so those are my categories. For Jurassic World, we want to talk about that one. So we have Chris Pratt, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard. One flaw that some people take from it, or one drawback, is that it was CGI dinosaurs. For me, I was never a big Super Jurassic Park fan. My younger brother, he was a big dinosaur fan, and I did like him as a kid, but I never really felt a big giant urge. Oh, I gotta see Jurassic Park again. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's not. It was fun. It was alright. But the whole franchise isn't really my thing. With that being said, I do think that as far as reboots go, I had negative expectations for this. And it did a lot better than I expected. I did like it. I did like it. I like that, they brought certain dinosaurs back. I really liked Blue. I liked the way that Chris Pratt acted throughout the movie. Yeah. I think it was solid, but it wasn't quite amazing, and it was definitely not unforgettable in that standpoint. Rogue One. Alright, so Star Wars Rogue One. One thing about this is that one thing about this tier list is my opinions of these movies are going to be how I felt about them at the time. So for this movie, I did not like it. Now, my opinion of that has changed since. However, we're just talking about when I watched it in theaters, and I didn't really understand the point of the movie. I wanted another cool Star Wars movie with lightsaber battles and Jedis versus Sith, and that's not what this movie is at all. I also didn't understand that this happened right before A New Hope. I did not take that into account. So, now that I'm older, I can really appreciate what they were doing with the movie and some of the acting and things like that. But at the time, it was not for me. There were not enough lightsabers in it. There was only one. But I will say Darth Vader murked all of those rebels. Yeah, that was a fantastic scene. The red glow just glowing off of him was insane. So, while I didn't hate it, it wasn't my thing. Doctor Strange. I'm trying to think of where I should put this. I had no idea who Doctor Strange was. And when I saw ads for the movie, I was like, who the hell is this guy? Like, are they just making things up now? Or is that really what they're doing? And then I watched it, and it really did blow me away. It's one of the best Marvel movies. Visually, outstanding. Story-wise, it's really concrete. It is important to the MCU as well. It's not just let's give this guy a random story and so we can give him a reason to be in the Marvel movies. Because we need him for Endgame. I really do think that as a character, he needed his own origin story. And I have to respect that. Again, visually, I mean, this was kind of like Inception type kaleidoscope thing. And that sort of thing can really, it can be really hit or miss, right? Sometimes movies try to do that and they rely so much on substance. I'm sorry, that they rely so much on style that there isn't any substance. But in a movie like this, I felt that there was a grand blend of both of them. And I do have to put it, and I'll never forget it, because I just think out of all these movies, it was one of the most visually amazing. It was the most compelling. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. And when people talk about, you know, what are your top 5 Marvel movies, which is a fair question because there's 100 million of them, I would put I would really consider putting Doctor Strange in that top 5 of them all. So, it's got to go, and I'll never forget. Batman vs. Superman. I don't remember it, honestly. Despite all the praise that I just gave to Doctor Strange, I wasn't really a big superhero fan, especially at this time, and especially not DC. So you really had to wow me if you were DC, if you wanted me to give you a good rating. And for this movie, I didn't care. Now, I haven't watched it since, but if I did, I'm sure I would view it a lot differently. I would have a lot more of a confident opinion one way or another. I don't know. I know a lot of people didn't like this movie, actually. I just don't remember it at all. So, I don't even know why they were fighting, really. I have no idea. Other than the fact that, you know, they probably wanted just to make a Batman versus Superman, because how many people have been calling for that for years on end, you know? So, I think they came up with the idea, let's put Batman and Superman against each other. Oh, now we have to make a story. So I have a feeling that's kind of where that entire thing came. Next we have Bohemian Rhapsody, and right away, no question, we're putting this in, I'll never forget it. Why? Because I'm a classic rock fan. I love the 80s, and while Queen was more 70s, they still fall under that category of old rock and definitely not modern. And so I went into this hoping that it would be good. And I don't care what certain critics say or certain viewers will say about it now, 6 years later. But Rami Malek killed it in that role as Freddie Mercury. He really did embody all of his gestures, the way that he walked, even his tonality in a lot of ways. Um, his emphasis, but beyond just mimicking Freddie Mercury, which he did well, he also knew how to display the emotion of what Freddie Mercury was going through. And really, Bohemian Rhapsody, it's more of Freddie's story than it is Queen, but he was so much involved in Queen that, like, that you can't really separate the two. Um, there are some slight flaws about the movie, about, like, I'm pretty sure Freddie Mercury did 2 solo albums, if I remember correctly. And I don't know Brian May, but they might have all done one too. Let me look it up. I don't want to, give you guys wrong information here. Oh no, maybe I was wrong. Maybe he only did the one. Huh. Well, look at that. He only did the one studio. Then he did a collaborative album, which I think is different because that was kind of an operatic thing. And he was doing it after they gotten back together. And I'm pretty sure that, they had really squashed a lot of the issues that was going on in the band. I really thought that he had 2 solo albums, and they only covered one. Um, so because maybe they did get all of their facts right. I thought that Mike Myers was a really interesting inclusion, and he didn't really have a huge part in the movie, but I thought that his part was pretty necessary. Um, yeah, no, it was a movie. The soundtrack was great overall. Bohemian Rhapsody, it might be the best movie that I've seen from 2011 to 2020, but we'll have to get through this list to decide. Next, we have Sing. And I am not a big fan of animated movies. I rarely will ever see one. Now, when I get older and I have kids, that's a different story. But for now, where I'm at, I don't like cartoons, man. And if animated movies are your thing, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I don't mean that disrespectful. I know that even, digital animation takes plenty of hard work. But for me, they're just not my thing. With that being said, I thought Sing was a pretty good movie for what it was. Um, I've always liked to sing ever since I was a child, and I used to go around wearing leather jackets and stuff like that, and I still do from time to time. But because of that, I felt like I really enjoyed the gorilla character a lot more. And his dad was in prison, so there's criminal life in the family, and there's criminal life in my family. Um, and so I kind of, put myself in his shoes for a little bit, which I thought was, more than what the movie was probably asking us to do. And the fact that I was able to do that is pretty good. Um, Also, I'm pretty sure Scarlett Johansson has a bit part. They had a Taylor Swift song that was played, which was very popular at the time. So it definitely played into that, but it wasn't all Taylor Swift songs. There were a bunch of songs in there. So, no, I thought Sing was a good animated movie. I haven't seen the sequel. I don't even know if they're doing more than just the sequel. I haven't followed it at all. But I did think that first one was pretty good. Next, we have Hidden Figures. And this stars a lot of people. It says Jim Parsons, who is Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. It's got Kevin Costner in it, Taraji P. Henson, Janelle Monáe, Octavia Spencer. Um, and I'm sure I'm missing some people. And Hidden Figures is about, these three black women had major contributions to the space race in 1969. And I think the movie did a good job of portraying the struggles that a black person, even worse, a black woman, had to go through in order to make it in a job like NASA, of all things, too. Not even just to put food on the table, but to make it in this high demand type of environment, which was pretty much solely of the opinion white men only. So I think it does a good job of portraying that aspect without coming along or coming off as too, I don't know, gushy is the only word I can really think of at the moment, but they're not playing into it so hard that, like, it doesn't become like a parody of itself. I will say, though, that I liked when Kevin Costner broke the sign, the restroom sign, if you remember that scene from the movie, if you have seen it yourself. But as I've grown to know Kevin Costner, I don't really like him for various reasons. But not that I hate him, I just don't think of him, in super high regard, as high regard as I think he does himself. So for me, he kind of comes off corny. So looking back, I think that he's a bit of a tryhard at times. But when I watched the movie, I did like that scene. Honestly, I gotta put this in, I liked it too. And I don't really care how many movies are gonna go in any particular category. Maybe none will go in, it was okay. But, not when I liked it. So we got 2 liked it in a row. Overall, I think we're doing pretty good. Next, we have Aquaman. I believe this is my first introduction to Jason Momoa and Amber Heard, although I did not remember Amber Heard after I left this movie whatsoever. And because of the whole situation between her and Johnny Depp, I never watched Aquaman 2. I joined the boycott, and to this day, I have not seen it. Never will. It's a movie that I will probably refuse until the end of time, because there's just, I don't support, what was going on in that trial. And I'm not going to get too into the weeds about it, but, because we're talking about the first Aquaman. And for the first Aquaman, I thought that visually it was astounding. The first scene was interesting. Plot-wise, after that, I don't remember a second of what happened. But this is tough. This is tough because this is a movie that I was asked about afterwards. And what I was telling everybody was about the visual aspect of it. So, and I have to put it in, it was okay. I really should put it in don't remember it, but no, I'm going to. I gotta put it in I don't remember it. Because I don't know what happened in the movie. Okay, there were some cool visuals, like when he went underwater and stuff. But if you ask me anything else that happened in the movie, I really couldn't tell you. So, unfortunately, that's gotta go and don't remember. Next, we have Angry Birds. And again, similar to Sing, when I was talking about I don't like animated movies. And this was a movie that I honestly could do without for the rest of the time. Did I absolutely hate it? I mean, that's really strong. I mean, I have to walk away remembering it and being able to tell people why I hated it. But I know I just didn't care. I'm gonna put it in I didn't like it. I think the whole putting out Angry Birds in the first place is just a waste of time. It's a cash grab. Why would you ever go see an Angry Birds movie? And I'm pretty sure they've done multiple now. It's a video game that occupies your time for a grand total of 5 minutes. And they made an hour and a half long movie about it. I don't care. And I'll probably never see that again. So, and didn't like it. It's lucky it's not in the absolutely hated pile. Next we have Halloween. Now I took my ex to go see this in theaters. I believe we saw it on opening day. It was for her birthday. And I hadn't watched any of the other Halloween movies, so we have to take that into account. I don't know the storyline, I don't know the plot, any of the backstory leading up to this movie. But I did like this movie, honestly. My opinion might change. Remember, like, all these are at the time. Some of these I haven't seen since. I have not seen Halloween since then. And this is the 2018 version, by the way, if you guys are wondering which one. I really thought that they were going to get him to say something the whole time. I thought they did a really good job of making him seem really intimidating and nefarious. Yeah, I walked away liking it, and I was glad we went. Fate of the Furious. Okay. This is a movie that I watched all of the Fast and Furious at the time. Most of these movies we had a theater in the school for. And so, while I didn't actually go to like an AMC or something for most of these, some of them I did, but for most of them, while I didn't do that for these, it was still in an enormous theater setting with tons of seats and the same screen and loud surround sound around. So it's a similar enough environment for me to say I went to see it. I didn't watch it on the TV. I didn't watch it on my phone or an iPad or anything like that. I watched it on a big screen. Now, I asked every teacher, because in our school library we had 1 through 4, I believe. And maybe 5. No, if I remember correctly, we had 1 through 5, and then 7. We did not have 6. So I watched 1 through 5, and then I asked some of the teachers if they had 6. And only one guy did, and he said, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. And he forgot it that day. So I was like, well, crap, man, like, this sucks, But I went ahead and I watched number 7 anyways. And then right when I finished up 7, he knocked on the classroom door and he came in and he handed me 6. And I was so happy because they actually let me like skip my next class so I could watch it and then go and see 8. So I watched 1 through 7, then I watched 6, and then I watched 8. And while that's a little out of order, it still made me really happy because I managed to watch them all. And when I finished 6, I was literally mad dashing, running to the theater. And I sat down just in time when everybody was going in. So I was able to I didn't miss a second of it. It went straight from 6 to 8. And I thought that was really cool. So, that was a fun little story. However, the movie itself, this is the one where Vin Diesel kind of went rogue for that particular part of the franchise, that storyline, which I'm not going to get into because I'm trying to be very spoiler free about this. There were definitely some very corny aspects. That car's got to have 1,000 RPM. Try 2,000. Try 5. Like, alright. I did think that, what happened to the mother was a really strong scene. I don't know if I cared necessarily for Charlize Theron in her role. Not that she is a bad actress. I don't know. I think it was trying too hard for a movie that didn't need to make it out to be so good, right? It's a mid-level movie. The whole franchise, especially now, is really mid-level at best. So to try and put as much as you can to make it into, we're trying to make this a really good movie. Well, you're not landing. You're trying all of the wrong tools in order to make it real and make it have actual drama and tension. It's just, we're there to have fun when we watch Fast and Furious. And other scenes, like when they're on the ice sheet and they're heading, at a certain amount of speed, and out of nowhere, this other car comes and hits them on the side, just blindsides them. Dude, it's a completely vast wasteland of ice, and you didn't see him coming? Not one of you guys saw him coming? So, for all those reasons, it was fun. Not a good movie. I'm going to put it in it was okay. Next, we have Triple X. And this movie is very similar to Fast and Furious in a lot of ways. Vin Diesel is very much macho man in this. Is very much cool. Look at me. I get all the women. I have the most confidence and you can't touch me kind of thing. He really has to embody this, kind of untouchable status in his character. And again, it really is more of let's have fun with this movie. This isn't a very serious movie at all. So, I think him going to bed with, what was it, like 20 girls at that one scene is just, did you really need to do all that? Let me see. So for all those reasons like that, I'm going to put it in, I'm going to put it in I don't know. I really like Nina Dobrev in it. I wanted to like it, but it just doesn't do it for me. It's just not quite there. Next, we have Beauty and the Beast, and I don't remember this movie enough. I don't remember Emma Watson's acting. I don't remember any choreography or any of the songs besides, the main Beauty and the Beast. Obviously, like, I know the main story, but as far as this movie in particular goes, I just don't remember enough of it. And The Great Wall, another movie, I don't know anything about it. I don't even know if I walked away liking it or not. And The Beauty and the Beast, I walked away liking it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. So yeah, Great Wall is like the epitome of this category. In fact, I didn't even remember seeing it until like I went through a list of movies that I saw, or that were released in 2016, and it happened to be in it. Next we have Star Trek Beyond. At the very least, I like this. I don't know if I loved it. It was not as good as the first one, and I barely remembered Star Trek 2. And I'm talking about Into Darkness, by the way. This one, I don't really remember much of it, which is, not a good sign. But, I mean, it's Star Trek. I like pretty much anything Star Trek. I like the fact that they had, I like the fact that they had another Chris Pine movie in there. So I'm gonna keep it, and I liked it. I really should put that one in, don't remember it, but I walked away like, yeah, telling everybody they should watch it kind of thing. So for that reason, I'm gonna keep it where it's at. Next we have Kong, Skull Island. I loved this movie. I'm not going to put it in I'll never forget it, even though it is one that, I'll probably never forget. Because I'm not going to say it was like top A-list level movie, like, of all time, right? But it was super enjoyable, and whenever people ask me about it, I tell them the same thing. Like, it's a great movie. I remember the actors that were in. It had John C. Riley and it had Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, right? And Samuel L. Jackson. And overall, um, I thought John C. Riley did a really good job. It'd been the first time I'd seen him since Step Brothers in anything, actually. So I was like, whoa, like, I just thought you was a comedy dude. Now I'm older and I've looked more into his filmography. And he's been in, like, musicals, and he's done some really good dramas. And John C. Riley is really good, like, he does a lot of dumb comedies, like Talladega Nights and Dewey Cox, but, and then he goes around and he does Moulin Rouge, I think it was, right? Um, or was it Chicago? I think it was Chicago. But still, man, that movie he did a good job in Kong. And if you remember the fist scene, I love that scene. I was just like on the edge of my seat, like yes, fuck that motherfucker. So yeah, that one's in there. Mr. Popper's Penguins. This is the first movie I've ever seen, and it's going and don't remember it. This is the very first movie I ever saw in my life. This is 2011. And so I was a teenager by now. That's right. I did not see any movies as a child. Um, I was with my friends at the time, and the family was going to the theaters, and they invited me along, and I said, sure, why not? I thought going to the movies was for, like, up-class, people, rich citizens, and it's really not. It's for everybody. Anybody can go to the movie theater, and I'm so glad that I'm older now and I'm able to see that because I was living in an area in my youth where I thought that doing anything was so out of touch. I will never see a movie theater. It didn't even register in my brain like this could be a possibility. I just accepted at a very young age that I would never see a movie, and I never had an inclination to do it. I just, okay, not going to a movie, never be able to do that. My aspirations were really stemmed very short at a young age. And now I'm older and I'm like, oh my god, what was I thinking? I should have fought to see some movies. But it is what it is. I was glad that I was able to go, but I don't remember. I don't even know if it was a good movie or if it was funny or what. So, next we have Zootopia. And, again, we're talking about, an animated movie. But this was a really good one. I'm not even gonna lie. I love Zootopia. And I mean, the bunny is so cute and the story was comprehensive. It stuck together. It was a real story, and following the bunny cop the whole time was like she was doing real things for the community and there was real pushback. There was some pretty good drama for a children's movie. So I walked away very surprised. I remember that. I walked away surprised that I would like a movie so well. Um, and yeah, that happens to land up there. Split. Okay. I will never forget Split. And this just overtook Bohemian Rhapsody as the best movie that I've seen on this list. And I don't know if there will be another one that'll take that. Because James McAvoy, I went into Split not knowing anything. I'd never seen James McAvoy. I'd never seen any of the other actors in this movie. And I went in completely blind and I just said, show me what you got. I didn't even know who M. Night Shyamalan was. I didn't know what Unbreakable was. I watched Split and I just thought it was a standalone movie. And I was like, this movie is incredible. He did a fantastic job. I don't even know. I gotta look this up. I have to look this up. 1 second, folks. I have to look this up. And I will tell you in a second what I'm looking up. That is sad. That is sad. James McAvoy's never been nominated for an Oscar, and if there was ever one that he should have won for, it was Split, hands down. And I'm saying that without knowing who else was up in the running. So maybe it was, just a very tough year. But, I mean, the dude played all of these roles, man. He played all of these roles to a T. Like, he was on point. This movie had so much emotion involved. This movie was funny. This movie was heartbreaking. This movie built up really good tension. And so you were on the edge of your seat. There were times that you were cheering. You were like, yeah. And this is another movie that we were quoting after we went home. And people were still laughing at certain parts of it. So, that's a movie I'll never forget. And it's one of the best horror movies of all time, in my opinion. For sure, for sure. In fact, they got in trouble for showing us this movie. But, the guy didn't back down. He was just like, yeah, man. I'm sticking to my guns. Next, we have Inside Out. This is another dumb movie that I hate. Some of you guys will disagree with me. Not might, you will disagree with me. I did not care at all for Inside Out. Why would I? Why would I? It's an animated movie. It's about emotions. While I understand, A, that it's for kids, and B, what it's really trying to do, I don't care. I just didn't. I wanted to leave the theater. I really did. But it was better than doing schoolwork, so I went. X-Men Apocalypse. Here's another James McAvoy movie. Unfortunately, the trend continues. I don't remember anything really from this movie. I didn't think that the bad guy was, particularly threatening. He was very intimidating. I didn't lose my mind. Watching him do all these things. It was a superhero movie, which again, I wasn't really into at the time. And I don't know if I watched or if I recognized that this was James McAvoy. I don't know if this came before Split or after. And if it did come after, I didn't put the two together because I didn't know who the guy from Split was yet. Even after watching it, I didn't remember the name. So, yep, that goes and don't remember it. Alright, now we have, Ghost in the Shell. This is the live action. This is the Scarlett Johansson. And I fell asleep in this movie. And some of you are going to be like, oh my gosh, out of all of these movies, how could you fall asleep for that one? It's got Scarlett Johansson in a freaking bodysuit. And I'm like, I know. But A, I was extremely tired. And B, I didn't know that I was going to become such a huge Scarlett Johansson fan at the time. I had no idea. I had no idea that I was going to basically fall in love with her as an actress. She was hot, yeah, absolutely, but I don't know. Just sometimes you fall asleep, man. Your body decides for you. Just yesterday, I was in a movie, actually. I'm not going to say which one because I'll talk about it at the end of the year, but I almost fell asleep in it. And I fought like hell to stay awake. I fought so hard to stay awake, and I managed to. And I'm really glad I did. Not because it was a good movie, but because it was so bad. I needed to be able to tell others why it was so bad. Because if the guy who I went with had said that, oh my gosh, dude, you fell asleep, but you should have seen this movie and how bad it was, I would have been like, damn, like I still gotta go watch it now. But I fought like hell. And sometimes you can overpower it. This was not a time where I was going to overpower it. Sully! Don't remember it. Sorry, guys. That's why this will be the first one to get released on my channel, because these are some of the oldest ones, And it's like, we're talking about almost 10 years ago. I wanted to do these chronologically. I didn't want to do a bunch of movies from 2011 after I'd done 2024. You know, I want to put this one out first. And it might as well. Because that would really suck if I do a bunch of I don't remember it in the middle of, you know, all the other movies that I do. So, I'd rather get them out of the way now. Next, we have Boss Baby. Another animated film. And while I thought this was going to be a real stupid waste of my time, I liked it. I thought it was cute and funny. I thought Alec Baldwin was the perfect voice actor for the Boss Baby. But, yeah. I liked it. Next, we have Terminator Genisys. And this movie, I went in planning to love. Couldn't wait for the next Terminator movie. And for the most part, I did. And things went so far left. And I had seen Terminator 1 and I had seen Terminator 2. And when they switched certain things up, I lost complete interest in this movie. I'm gonna put it and I didn't like it. No, I'm gonna put it and I hated it. I hated it. There was one scene where one of the guys ends up meeting with a hobo before time traveling. And then later, he's talking to a guy, and he's like, oh, hey, remember me? And I looked at my friend Zach at the time, I was like, oh my god, it's the hobo. It was not the hobo, but that scene, had it actually been, I would have moved it up here to didn't like it. Because he and I had the greatest laugh. Can you imagine just being a homeless person, and then 10 years, or however long down the line, now you're working for one of the most prestigious companies that's overlooking time travel and trying to hunt this guy down, you know? This epic surveillance company. I don't know if it was the FBI or what, but to go from, like, nothing to one of the most somebodies you could be was great. And I thought that was such a good choice. And then it turns out that it was not him, and he kind of been in a similar role his whole life. So I was like, oh, that's nothing special. That's not funny. So, yeah, no. For those two reasons, I have to put in absolutely hated it. And I know that's kind of a quibble. Like, it's a really little thing. But, dude, when me and my friend thought that it was him, we had one of the most, like, belly roar laughs ever in my life. And then it turns out that we were wrong about it. And that sucks, man, because it took away from it. And so, yeah, I have to include that. I'm gonna switch these. First, we have Deadpool. And this movie, I have to put in, I will never forget it. This movie was one of the funniest movies I'd ever seen in my life up to now. Ryan Reynolds just went off the freaking rails with this one. I mean, they basically said, alright, Ryan, go wild. And he said, water bet. And he really did. This is one of the most hilarious movies I've ever seen in my life. And unfortunately, I've seen it a lot. It was on, you know, FX all the time. And so, at this point in time, I'm kind of burnt out on it, unfortunately. But if I give it enough time, I'm sure that I'll watch it and I'll love it again. Which I did. You know, I watched it recently in preparation for the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So I did watch it again. And there were still parts that were really funny. I knew what Ajax was before, you know, the big reveal. And I thought that was really funny because I seemed to be the only one who knew what Ajax was. And so that was funny. The banter with he and his girlfriend at the very beginning. About like, oh, well, I was stuck in a dishwasher. Oh, well, you had a dishwasher. You know, this kind of trauma bonding as in, oh, well, you had more than me, kind of funny take. And it's all sarcastic, and it's super like, we both of our lives suck, and we're just gonna make light of it because I like you. That sort of thing is really good. Careless Whisper, I will never ever be able to not associate with this movie. So there's a lot of things I have to put, and I'll never forget. I'm not gonna say it was the best. I still like Split way more, but no, I'm not gonna forget that movie. Which brings me to Deadpool 2. And this movie, I walked out also really liking it. It'd been a long time since I'd seen um Deadpool, and so I didn't watch it right beforehand, and I still got 1,000 laughs out of it. So I'm gonna put it, and I loved it. Now, I don't think it's nearly as strong looking back. And I did watch all three in succession, and I do believe that it is the weakest of the three for sure. But at the time that I watched it, I really loved it. Logan. We are just kicking off with the superhero movies now. Bang, 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 bang. And Logan I liked. I really need to watch the first X-Men's in order to have as much appreciation for it. But obviously, you couldn't deny most of the emotion, at its face value on the screen. And so I thought that the little girl did an impeccable job that young in her acting. I thought Hugh Jackman did fine. Patrick Stewart getting really old, and that was kind of sad to see. But overall, I did like the story. It was kind of like, it's kind of apocalyptic thing, almost like Roland Deschain from The Dark Tower kind of thing. And, even looking at the cover, this kind of orange, this glow from the bottom. You don't see his head. It's almost Walking Dead-like. And I think that it does a really good job of being a superhero movie, but not actually feeling like a superhero movie. This feels like a very mature superhero movie, and I respect that. And last but not least, we have Suicide Squad. And I don't care what anybody is going to say. Leave your hate in the comments. Feel free. I don't care. Suicide Squad was one of the best movies that I saw in theaters, at least in this particular time. I loved it. I mean, I had seen Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie before, and so to hear that they were going to be back in another movie together, I was excited for it. Harley Quinn, extremely hot, which was exactly the point of her role. She had to be hot, but also batshit crazy. Carrying that damn bat around. Speaking of Walking Dead, just like Lucille, right? Deadshot was good. And a lot of people are gonna hate me for this too, but I didn't mind at all Jared Leto's performance as the Joker. I didn't. Some people are like, oh, I hated it. And some people say that they hate it for a reason. Some people say that they hate it because everybody else hates it. I found a lot of people that were like, oh, well, why didn't you like it? Oh, I don't know. I just didn't think he did a good job. And it's like, well, that's not really, giving anybody a specific reason as to why he didn't do a good job. That's just saying, oh, I didn't really like it. I don't know why. It's like, okay, are you just saying that because nobody else liked it? I liked it. And why did I like it? I liked it because it had this blend of psycho and deranged as well as that gangster role. So we have the Jack Nicholson, and we have the Heath Ledger, and we have gangster, and we have, psycho. And while he didn't do a good job as either of those together, I do believe that he did a good job of blending them. He wasn't on the screen for a whole lot of amount of time. But, what he did do on screen, I mean, the scene with him in Common was just, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, like, this dude really is crazy. And it doesn't have to be as crazy as Heath Ledger to be good. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be extremely over top. Just one or two scenes where, like, whoa, like, he really did that? I didn't eye roll. I didn't go, oh man, like, of course they would do this cliche thing in the movie. They're trying too hard. I didn't feel like they were trying too hard. Overall, I like Suicide Squad. The only thing that I could think of would be a flaw is that they did kind of, run through everybody's backstories a little too fast, except, of course, Harley and Will Smith. Everyone else, they kind of rapid fired through it. But those are the stars in the movie, too. So that's the draw. And obviously, Harley Quinn is a huge role in the DC. In the comics, people have been looking forward to see Harley Quinn live acted out for a long time. And so, obviously, they're going to spend a lot more time on her backstory and Will Smith's as Deadshot than some of the others. But it's a movie that I personally won't ever forget. And I cannot wait for the opportunity to watch it again. So with that being said, that concludes our tier list. So, let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry about if the audio isn't super great. I'm sorry if the picture quality isn't particularly great. I just want to get something out, man. I've been waiting too long to try to figure this out. And I guess I'll just have to learn as I go, because trying to figure it all out and have the perfect videos all set, ready to go, and then just bust them out, knowing exactly what I'm doing from the jump, off the rip, I'm not able to yet. So I need some help. Until I get said help, I'm just going to put out what I can. So, with that being said, thanks for tuning in to King Absol's Movie Lounge. Please like this video if you liked it. Please comment below. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more content. I'm definitely going to be adding more to my Patreon as soon as I can get that up and running. And you guys will be able to find all sorts of cool new things over there. Early access and things that YouTube wouldn't let me upload. All types of stuff. So, anyways, peace.